This is a quick video showing you the couple of questions I couldn't pick up at the end of today's class due to internet issues. We'd sort of gone through question 6, but I think I should say it again because I didn't really get to finish what I was saying about it. So we've got 2 times a cubed times b to the minus 4. That's what that thing all means together. And then that's all multiplied by 3 times a times b to the 5 times c. So really what we've got is 2 sets of things that are already multiplied together being multiplied, which means that all the numbers can be multiplied, all the a's can be multiplied, the b's and the c's, and we can apply our rules of indices where this happens. So we can take our numbers first of all. We've got a 2 multiplied by a 3, so we're going to get a 6 here. We've got an a cubed multiplied by an a, so that's the same thing as a to the power 3 plus 1, because a by itself is a to the power 1, and we multiply 2 bases, in this case 2 a's, with powers, we add the powers. The same is true for b. We've got b multiplied by b with different powers, so we add the powers together. The minus 4 and the 5 are added together. And lastly, in all of this, we've got a c term, which is not a c term to multiply it, so that remains. Now, I wouldn't necessarily require this to be written out. This is to show you what's going on as I multiply. So we can do all these little additions of powers, and we're going to get 6a to the 4 times b, because it just becomes b to the 1, and b to the 1 is written as b, times c. And that would be your answer to question 6. And I think we got to that in class, but I thought I should just say a bit more about it there as well. Question 4 we didn't look at all in class, so I'll talk about it just now. Question 4a, we are told the length of the pendulum, and we're given a value for g, which is the acceleration due to gravity, and we're asked to find t subscript s, which is the period of the pendulum. So we can use the formula we're given. T subscript s is equal to 2 times pi times the square root L over g. And into that formula, we can input the value. So we've got 2 times pi times square root, and the length is 0.78. The value for g we're given to use is 9.8. And at this stage, as long as we're confident in doing it correctly, we can input all of this directly into our calculator. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to type this in. 2 pi, and then I'm going to type in the root symbol. And I put in 0.78 divided by 9.8. And entering all of that in, I get a value out of 1.77, and then some more stuff after that. So I'm just going to write that to 3 significant figures, 1.77. And it doesn't tell us in the question, but this would actually be in seconds, the period of a pendulum. So that's the first part of the question. In the second part, we're asked to make L the subject of the formula. So making something the subject of the formula, same thing as rearranging, same thing as transposing, and that's what we've been looking at in class. So I'll always start by writing out our formula first of all. So there's this t subscript s is equal to 2 pi times the square root of L over g. And our objective here is to get to L. So we need to pull off this square root at some point. But before we do that, we need to get rid of this 2 pi, because if we start squaring things, then we're going to end up squaring 2 and pi on this side. And it wouldn't not work after that point. If we start off by squaring, we can still make this work. But what we find is that things might become a bit more complicated. So I'm going to elect to divide through by 2 pi first of all. My first step here is to divide by 2 pi. And what this does is means on the left-hand side, and I have this t subscript s divided by 2 pi. And on the right-hand side, I just have the square root of L over G. And we're now in a position that we can square, and we can get rid of this square root all around the L over G. And remember, our objective here is to find L by itself. It's not to make the tidiest possible formula. So there's going to be more than one way we can do this. But what we'll do is square both sides. So I'm going to square. On the right-hand side, it's pretty straightforward what happens. When we square something that's square rooted, we get the thing that was inside the square root. On the left-hand side, we square the whole of the side. So to begin with, I can write this. T subscript s over 2 pi all squared. And I don't think you need to do anything else with that afterwards. We could write that as ts squared over 4 pi squared. That would be the correct squaring of that bracket. But we can stop there and leave it like that. So what we can do now is multiply both sides by g. Because L is divided by G, we need to do the inverse of dividing, which is multiplying. We multiply by G, and we get G on this side times this bracket. We can leave it. We can leave this bracket as it is with the square on it. Ts over 2 pi all squared is equal to L. And that's us done enough to solve this problem. If you want to, you can certainly square that bracket over there, but we've not been asked to do that at any point. If we look at what we're asked to do, we're told to make L the subject, and L is now the subject of that formula. So that we've completed everything we're required to do. If you did square the bracket, you get a slightly different answer, and that's also okay as long as you've done it correctly. So that's a quick roundup of those two questions, and we'll pick up everything else before we do the assessment.